In the late 1970s, personal computers started appearing in homes and offices, revolutionizing the way we work, play, and communicate. Can you believe the first home computer kits had only a few thousand bytes of memory? Join me as we take a nostalgic tech time travel to explore the very first personal computers of the late 1970s and relive our early computing days. One of the very first personal computers aimed at hobbyists and consumers was the Altair 8800, which was featured on the cover of Popular Electronics magazine in January 1975. Let's take a look. This machine didn't look like much with its blinking lights and switches on the front panel. But for electronics hobbyists at that time, it represented a breakthrough. An affordable computer you could build and program right at home. Here's an unbelievable fact. The Altair 8800 basic kit started with only 256 bytes of memory. Let that sink in. Not even enough to store a small photo from your current smartphone. To put 256 bytes into perspective, that's only 0.000256 megabytes. Contemporary computers have gigabytes and even terabytes of memory. The micro SD card in my phone likely holds about 256,000 times more data capacity than the original Altair memory. It's simply astonishing how far we've come in just a few decades. I sometimes wonder what the early computing pioneers would think if we could transport them here from the 70s and demonstrate what their work has enabled and empowered. I bet they never envisioned anything close to our present interconnected world with instant access to humanity's collective knowledge. Back to the Altair. With such limited memory, you really needed to deeply understand computer architecture fundamentals and machine language code to accomplish anything meaningful. There was no luxury yet of the modern higher-level programming languages or operating systems that abstract away the underlying details for today's developers. Can you envision having to toggle tiny switches one by one to manually input raw binary instructions? That would drive me crazy. It must have demanded incredible skill, patience, and attention to detail to craft programs on such shockingly primitive hardware. Incredibly, hobbyists could extend the system with additional memory cards that held a whopping 4 kilobytes. That expanded capacity enabled Altair to run a tiny version of BASIC, developed by none other than Bill Gates and Paul Allen in 1975. 4 KB may seem vanishingly small now, but it opened up new vistas of programming potential that marked an important milestone. Gates and Allen proved that higher-level languages could empower people without specialized computer science skills to unleash creativity on early PCs. While laughably underpowered by contemporary standards, the Altair inspired a generation of pioneers to keep pushing the limits of these new computational machines. And those visionaries collectively set us all down the exponential technology improvement path that eventually led to the advanced computing ecosystems we enjoy in our present age. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the striking contrast between early machines like the Altair and today's laptops, smartphones, and web services. What differences stand out to you the most? Let me know in the comments. Now let's fast forward to 2022. While innovators like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates ultimately captured mainstream fame and fortune by bringing personal computers to the masses, there were many lesser-known luminaries that made invaluable contributions to the early days of computing. For example, Ed Roberts, who found micro-instrumentation telemetry systems, built the Altair 8800 from the ground up based on Intel's 8080 processor. He can truly be considered one of the original fathers of the personal computer industry. Roberts pioneered a market for affordable computers aimed at hobbyists and tinkerers instead of only big institutions, helping drive momentum towards the consumer computing revolution. I'm also blown away by computing pioneer Dame Stephanie Shirley, who founded one of the first all-woman software companies in 1962 called Freelance Programmers. As a Jewish refugee who fled Nazi persecution, Shirley overcame tremendous personal and societal barriers in succeeding as an entrepreneur in a field dominated by men in those early decades. She recently wrote an inspiring memoir chronicling the challenges she navigated while breaking new ground for women business leaders in technology. And we owe a debt of gratitude to innovators like Andrew S. Tannenbaum, who created Minix, an open-source Unix-like operating system that inspired Linus Torvalds to start the Linux movement. The ethos of open collaboration and access enabled by the early internet can be traced back to the pioneering work of visionaries like Tannenbaum. The more you dive into the history of computing's origins, the more unsung heroes you discover who played pivotal, yet under-recognized roles in birthing today's digital age. Their stories often reveal how a handful of determined, visionary people coming together across institutional barriers to take risks and push new ideas can end up profoundly impacting human potential decades later. While most pioneering computer engineers and programmers weren't primarily motivated by fortunes in the very early days, but rather the intellectual challenge and making an impact, many eventually found financial windfalls down the road. As personal computers began reaching critical mass market adoption through the 80s and 90s, key contributors became millionaires and even billionaires. For example, Apple and Microsoft early employees who received stock options made small fortunes as home PC sales absolutely skyrocketed globally. Those unexpected economic rewards likely reinforced Silicon Valley's culture of risk-taking innovation that continues catalyzing technology breakthroughs today. And ironically, many hobbyist-founded companies like Apple and Microsoft eventually became the big institutions that new generations of innovators want to take on. Of course, no one could have reasonably predicted way back in 1975 how deeply transformational and indispensable digital devices would eventually become in everyday 21st century modern life. At the time, most visionaries in computing were focused on pushing capabilities to new levels, not envisioning how technologies like smartphones and the internet would radically change how humanity shares information, connects, and expresses creativity. Yet the pioneering work across computing in the 70s and 80s set us down an exponential trajectory of capability improvements, following Moore's law that led to today's world of seemingly limitless access. Those early visionaries could never have fathomed most people carrying around a smartphone device orders of magnitude more powerful than dream supercomputers from that era. While we stand on the shoulders of giants from computing history, the rapid pace of technology innovation shows no signs of slowing down. Emerging capabilities like artificial intelligence, quantum computing, advanced biometrics, and more point to even more dramatic shifts ahead in the next decade. Who knows, maybe 30 years from now our mobile devices will harness the equivalent processing capability of a human brain. I can't wait to revisit this moment from the 2050s and see just how prescient or wildly off the mark my predictions here turned out to be once another few rounds of exponentially more powerful computing revolutions have come to pass. One thing is certain: we'll be blown away by innovation's pioneers yet to come will create building upon today's advances. The more you dive into computing history, the more unsung heroes you discover who played pivotal roles in enabling our digital world. I think it speaks to the profound power of technology to ultimately amplify human potential when people come together and push boundaries. Looking to the future, it makes me wonder, what might be the next breakthrough Altair moments that create entirely new technology categories? Keep an eye out for nascent innovations set to disrupt how we communicate, work, learn, and live. The seeds of the next generation of innovation are being planted as we speak. And visionaries today, like those early computing pioneers, can't yet imagine the second and third order effects their work will unleash over time, changing life as we know it. As we wrap up, I'm curious, what emerging technologies do you think could transform the world much like personal computing did back in the 70s and 80s? Let me know your predictions in the comments. I can't wait to fire up our time machine again soon to explore more nostalgic tech travels. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next retro tech adventure. See ya.